So last time, we heard about how bad receiving large sum of monies could go. Or did we? In any case, this is a part 2, so although you might not need to go back to the last video to hear everything, I would personally appreciate it and it will give you more context. Without further ado, let's get cracking. Congratulations! You just won millions of dollars in the lottery. That's great. Now no really, you see, it's something of an open secret that winners of obnoxiously large jackpots tend to end up badly with alarming regularity. Not the $1 million winners, but anyone in the 9-figure range is at high risk. 8 figures? Pretty likely to be 7 figures? Yep, painful. Perhaps this is a consequence of the sample. The demographics of lottery players might be exactly the wrong people to win large sums of money. Or perhaps money is the root of all evil. Either way, you're going to have to be careful. Don't believe me? Consider this. Large jackpot winners face double-digit multiples of probability versus the general population to be the victim of homicide. Something like 20 times more likely. Drug overdose. Bankruptcy. How's that for irony? Kidnapping. And triple-digit multiples of probability versus the general population rate to be convicted of drunk driving. The victim of homicide at the hands of a family member, 120 times more likely in this case. Ain't love grand? A defendant in a civil lawsuit. A defendant in felony criminal proceedings. Believe it or not, your biggest enemy if you suddenly possess a large sum of money is you. At least you will have the consolation of meeting your fate by your own hand. But if you can't manage it on your own, don't worry. There are any number of willing participants ready to help you start your vicious downward spiral for you. Mind you, many of these will be friends, friendly neighbors, or family. Often, they won't even have evil intentions, but as I'm sure you know, that makes little difference in the end. Most aren't evil. Most aren't malicious. Some are. None are good for you. Jack Whitaker, a Johnny Cash attired West Virginia native, is the poster boy for the dangers of a lump sum award. In 2002, Mr. Whitaker, 55 years old at the time, won what was also at the time the largest single award jackpot in U.S. history, $315 million. At the time, he planned to live as if nothing had changed, or so he said. He was remarkably modest and decent before the jackpot, and his ship sure came in, right? Wrong. Mr. Whitaker became the subject of a number of personal challenges, escalating into personal tragedies, complicated by a number of legal troubles. Whitaker wasn't a typical lottery winner either. His net worth at the time of his winnings was in the excess of $15 million, owing to his ownership of a successful contracting firm in West Virginia. His claim to want to live as if nothing had changed actually seemed plausible. He should have been well equipped for his wealth. He was already quite wealthy after all. By all accounts, he was somewhat modest, low profile, generous, and good-natured. He should have coasted off into the sunset. Yeah, not exactly. Whitaker took the all-cash option, $170 million, instead of the annuity option, and took possession of $114 million in cash after $56 million in taxes. After that, things went south. Whitaker quickly became the subject of a number of financial stalkers who would lurk at his regular breakfast hideout and accost him with suggestions for how to spend his money. They were unemployed. No, an interview tomorrow morning wasn't good enough. They needed cash now. Perhaps they had a surefire business plan. Their daughter had cancer. A niece needed dialysis. Needless to say, Whitaker stopped going to his breakfast haunt. Eventually, they began ringing his doorbell, sometimes in the early morning. Before long, he was paying off duty deputies to protect his family. He was accused of being heartless, cold, stingy. Letters poured in. Children with cancer, diabetes, MS, you name it. He hired 3 more people to sort the mail. A detective to filter out the false claims, and the con men and women was retained. Brenda, the clerk who had sold Whitaker the ticket, was a victim of collateral damage. Whitaker had written her a check for $44,000 and bought her house, but she was by no means a millionaire. Rumors that the state routinely paid the clerk who had sold the ticket 10% of the jackpot winnings hounded her. She was followed home from work. threatened, assaulted. Whitaker's car was twice broken into by trusted acquaintances who watched him leave large amounts of money in it. $500,000 cash and $200,000 were stolen in two separate instances. The thieves spiked Whitaker's drink with prescription drugs in the first instance. The second incident was the handiwork of his granddaughter's friends, who had been probing the girl for details on Whitaker's cash for weeks. Even Whitaker's good faith generosity was questioned. When he offered $10,000 to improve the city water park so that it was more handicap accessible, locals complained that he spent more money at the club. Amusingly, this was true. Whitaker invested quite a bit in his own business, tripled the number of people his business employed, making him one of the larger employers in the area, and eventually had given away $14 million to charity through a foundation he had set up for the purpose. This is, of course, what you're supposed to do. Set up a foundation. Be careful about your charity giving. It made no difference in the end. To top it all off, Whitaker had been accused of ruining a number of marriages. His money made other men look inferior, they said. Wherever he went in the small West Virginia town he called home, resentment grew quickly and festered. Whitaker paid 4 settlements related to this sort of claim. Yes, you read that right. 4. His family and their immediate circle were quickly victims of odds-defying numbers of overdoses, emergency room visits, and even fatalities. His granddaughter, the 18-year-old Brandy, who Whitaker had been giving a $2,100 per week allowance, was found dead after having been missing for several weeks. Her death was, apparently, from a drug overdose, but Whitaker suspected foul play. Her body had been wrapped in a tarp and hidden behind a rusted-out van. Her 17-year-old boyfriend had expired 3 months earlier in Whitaker's vacation house, also from an overdose. Some of his friends had robbed the house after his overdose, stepping over his body to make their escape, and then returning for more before stepping over his body again to leave. His parents sued for wrongful death, claiming that Whitaker's loose purse strings contributed to their son's death. Amazingly, juries are prone to award damages in cases such as these. Whitaker settled. Again. Even before the deaths, the local and state police had taken a special interest in Whitaker after his newfound fame. He was arrested for minor and less minor offenses many times after his winnings, despite having had a near spotless record before the award. Whitaker's high profile couldn't have helped him much in this regard. In 18 months, Whitaker had been cited for over 250 violations, ranging from broken taillights on every one of his 5 new cars to improper display of renewal stickers, a lawsuit charging various police organizations with harassment went nowhere, and Whitaker was hit with court costs again. Whitaker's wife filed for divorce and in the process froze a number of his assets and the accounts of his operating companies. Caesars in Atlantic City sued him for $1.5 million to cover bounced checks caused by the asset freeze. Today, Whitaker is badly in debt and bankruptcy looms large in his future. But hey, that's just one example, right? Wrong. Nearly 1/3 of multi-million-dollar jackpot winners eventually declare bankruptcy. Some end up worse. To give you just a taste of the possibilities, consider the fates of Billy Bob Harrell Jr., $31 million, Texas, 1997. As of 1999, committed suicide in the wake of incessant requests for money from friends and family. Winning the lottery is the worst thing that had ever happened to me. William Bud Post, $16.2 million, Pennsylvania, 1988. In 1989, brother hires a contract murderer to kill him and his 6th wife. Landlady sued for a portion of the jackpot. Convicted of assault for firing a gun at a debt collector. Declared bankruptcy, dead in 2006. Evelyn Adams, $5.4 million. Won twice, 1985, 1986. As of 2001, poor and living in a trailer, gave away and gambled most of her fortune. Suzanne Mullins, $4.2 million. Virginia, 1993. As of 2004, no assets left. Shefik Talmat, $6.7 million. Arizona, 1988. As of 2005, declared bankruptcy. Thomas Strong, $3 million. Texas, 1993. As of 2006, died in a shootout with police. Victoria Zell, $11 million. 2001, Minnesota. As of 2006, broke, serving 7-year sentence for vehicular manslaughter. Karen Cohen, $1 million. Illinois, 1984. As of 2000, filed for bankruptcy. As of 2006, sentenced to 22 months for lying to federal bankruptcy court. Jeffrey Dampier, 20 million. Illinois, 1996. As of 2006, kidnapped and murdered by his own sister-in-law. Ed Gilding, 8.8 million. Texas, 1993. As of 2003, dead. Wife saddled with his debts. As of 2005, wife sued by her own daughter who claimed that she was taking money from a trust fund and squandering cash in Las Vegas. Willie Hurt, 3.1 million. Michigan, 1989. As of 1991, addicted to cocaine, divorced, broke, indicted for murder. Michael Killenbill, 2 million. As of 1998, sued by own mother, claiming he failed to share the jackpot with her. Janet Lee, 18 million. 1993, Missouri. As of 2001, filed for bankruptcy with $700 in assets. So now that we heard the horror stories regarding windfalls, what's the solution? Well, to find out, subscribe and hit that notification bell to be alerted when the next video drops. If you're playing the lottery or know someone, they will definitely want to hear this. You've gotten this far, so please like the video to let me know you want more videos like this, since I'm in the experimental phase. Comment below what you thought about the video and the horrors of winning the lottery. Cheers.